Hello, it's Shantae from Stitching Hearts Embroidery, and today I want to share with you how I've been making what I'm calling a faux knockdown stitch. And the reason I'm calling it a faux knockdown stitch is because the traditional knockdown stitch that is either built into enthusiasts on this platform or that you can make with Stitch Artist 3 is traditionally a patch-like or a cloud-like bubble around your lettering that knocks down the pile of your fabric to allow your stitches to sit on top and to give you a cleaner finish of the stitched out lettering. Well, with the knockdown stitch variation that I've been doing lately, I am only putting an outline around my lettering and I am leaving the holes in a lot of the lettering. So it just looks more like an outline than the traditional knockdown stitch. I kind of like it better for a lot of embroidery, but there are some things that I do prefer or I need a traditional knockdown stitch for. So things like if it's just a super fluffy long hair pile, then this thin outline that I'm putting around it may not cover enough of the pile, and then when you're finished, that will hang over on your lettering. So you'll have to decide. You'll have to take this technique and practice it, do some tweaking to it and make it your own, and then eventually you can maybe have a faux knockdown stitch. I just had a piece of fluff in my face. So anyway, let's get started. And so first of all, I'm going to go right up here to the top to the letter A. And that brings in this, the lettering box, the ABC. I'm going to go over here and choose it in my objects panel. And then I'm going to go down to properties and I'm going to choose a font. I am a collector of all things fonts, so please don't judge me. Today I'm going to use a font called, I think I'll use Lovebug. It is definitely one of my favorites. That is not what I wanted. So let's try that again. Number 1. Okay, and then the name that we'll use, we're not going to use my name today. Usually I always say we're going to use my name. So we're going to just choose a name, a simple name, and there it is. So first thing I want to do is I want to choose one of these little square boxes that'll come up in the middle, and I clicked on the square. Once you click on the square, that gives you these up and down arrows that allow you to manipulate the letters. So if I'm clicking the up arrow, that's what's happening, right? But I'm going to click the down arrow. And what I want is for all of these letters to move in unison. I want them all to come over together so that they stay pretty well lined up. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to take my L, and so if you see it has a bounding box around it, I'm going to enlarge that just a little bit, and I'm going to move it in like that. And so this is just a matter of personal preference. I see that this I is a little high, so I'm looking at the line right across here. Another thing that you can do when you want to line up your letters a certain kind of way is go right up here to the numbers, right, left click and drag yourself a guide bar right down there. And so right now I can see that my D, so I'm gonna get back on those letters. My D is a little low and my A is a little low. And I'm gonna bring my L in just a little. And this is it again, this is just personal preference. There is no right or wrong to how you set up your lettering or how close you want them, how far apart. It's just personal preference. I'm just going by kind of what looks visually appealing to my eye. So I'm going to choose those letters again. And for this, I don't think I said in the beginning, I'm going to use Stitch Artist 3. I will also make a video today using Enthusiast and getting a similar effect. It's a little more, some extra, Enthusiast and Stitch Artist 1. There are some extra clicks that you have to do, but you really can get a pretty similar effect. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose it. And so you see the bounding box around it is letting me know that I'm ready to work with this whole set of letters. In Stitch Artist 3, I click this, which says Create. So it's the Create button. Once you have Stitch Artist, you will be able to create stitches with these buttons here. So I'm going to go right over here to where it says Path, and I'm going to choose the one that looks like it's an up and down, a squiggly line, and I'm going to choose it. That button says Create an outline from stitches on the page. And so it gave me an outline. You can't really see it because, let's see, let's move it up. And there it is. There's the outline, right? So I'm going to move it back. What happens when I go to move it back is it backs up the whole thing, and I got to do it again. So I chose my lettering. I just wanted you guys to see that there is actually an outline when it tells you there's an outline. So I'm going to go back and choose outline. And there it is. There's my outline. But the next thing I want to do is I want to inflate the outline. I want it to be a little bit wider, like making an offset of the letters. I want to inflate that. And so this button here says Inflate Objects. So I'm going to choose it. And this is where earlier I said you have to practice, you have to make some of these designs, you have to find your own favorite font, and then you will determine how wide you want that offset or the lining or the edging around your lettering. So we're going to start with, let's say let's start with a 3.0 since we're there. And so can you see that that's still an outline, and it inflated that outline 3 millimeters wider than the original wording. The next thing, and so I left soften corners checked because all of these are kind of rounded corners. If I was using more like an athletic font or just some other kind of font that had more squared edges, then I would uncheck soften corners. So I'm going to leave that checked. And then I'm going to do holes. So I'm trying to do a negative kind of knockout of this. And so I'm going to do it about the same. Sometimes I do the holes smaller or larger. It really just depends on the lettering and how large it is. And so I don't think I said in the beginning so I'm going to go let me back up. Let me finish this. So that gave me this hole, and I'm going to say okay. And so there it is. But if I go down there to hoops, it's showing me in millimeters, and I want to double click. Nope, double click changed it. I want to go over here to select the size, and it says select it. And I'm going to double click, and then that changes that millimeters to inches. So my wording is 12 by 6, and I have a 17 by 8 inch hoop on here, the frame that I'm using. This design would be for a blanket, extra large, in an extra large hoop. But you can do this in any size, and the reason I just brought that up is because sometimes in the holes, if the design is very much smaller, I may just want a really tiny edge around there. And then sometimes I want it more filled in. And so it just depends. It depends on the font and the font type or the font choice and the size of the font. And so here it is. These are my letters. Sometimes I have to go over here and rearrange these because for whatever reason it puts them out of order. And maybe I'll try another font and see if that happens so that I can show you where I'm rearranging, because I do actually rearrange it before I outline it. So yeah, before I inflate it. So we'll get there in a minute. I'll try another font. So now outline is chosen, and I'm going to go over here and I'm going to add a fill stitch. This has been giving me a little bit of trouble, which has taken me so long to make this video. I feel like Embroidery does not like me doing this sometimes. And so I'm going to choose it again. I'm going to click fill stitch. It's the one over here. And I'm going to say enter and see if that helps me. It's really been hanging up because when we're working in this software, we're asking it to do something sometimes that it may not have originally been made to do specifically. And I feel like it's having to think. And so if you see my wheel spinning, and what keeps happening is sometimes it is crashing my software. I've tried reinstalling. Okay, it worked. And so there it is. It's in the front. Let's choose that one. Let's change the color. Let's change the color just to something lighter that we'll be able to see on the screen. We're going to choose OK. And now it's still selected. I'm going to right click on my mouse and move it first or earlier. And so there it is. There is the outline around. I'm going to see if I can change this color too, just to something. Yeah, I don't know if that helps. And so there it is. So the next thing I have to do is figure out the settings for it. So I am still in Create, and I'm going to go right over here and so into Properties. So I have the background stitch, the faux knockdown, the edging selected, that orangish color, pinky orange color stitch. And really what I need to do is, I know in Embroidery the knockdown stitch is kind of way at, I don't know, I'll go back and check, but I think it's like at a 17 point or something like that. And so I am going to change this to a 25 point. I have gone anywhere between 25 and 30. And the reason is because I want it to be both directions. And so I need it to be very spaced out. If I left it at like a 5 or a 10, it would just be a very thick or very dense stitch, very heavy stitch, and it would give us a very stiff area, right? We're already going to put the blue letters on top of this, so we don't need it to be so stiff. So that's the first part. I changed the density to a 25. And then the next thing is I'm going to go right here to this up and down squiggly area, and I'm going to leave the contour and the perpendicular. So the contour is more going around the way the stitches go around the letters, and the perpendicular is going to give me that opposite effect so that it's like this. So when we're using Enthusiast and we're using the knockdown stitch, you can choose to go one direction or both directions. So I'm going to see if I can enlarge this without Embroidery being too mad at me. So this still looks a little tight. I'm going to go back to my feel, back to my density. And I'm going to go up a little bit. I'm going to go, maybe I'm going to try 30. And it's going to take a little bit there. So I like that's I'm used to seeing this when I enlarge it, and that's more of the way I like, or I'm used to the holes being in between the stitches. So we're going to choose it again. We're going to travel the edge just to neaten up some of these stick out parts. So we're going to travel the edge, and there it is. So that cleaned that up just a little bit. And let's see what else. I was talking about, oh, my inset, I keep it at 0. Density for the perpendicular is 17, and that works. And so do you see where when I move that inset to 0, instead of having that sticking out some, how that cleaned it up really nicely. And so really, that's it. That is putting a knockdown stitch behind pre-purchased fonts, or you can make your own font, but I'm just sharing just a quick way. And I've used this a lot on both blankets and towels, and it works really well. Again, if you have a very furry, a very high pile, a very thick, fluffy nap on your material, this may not work for you. And you can go back, either increase the area around the lettering, or go back to the traditional knockdown and just have the whole background, including the holes, covered up in a knockdown stitch. So I will try to share a couple of my results of the blankets that I've stitched with using this method, and then really soon, hopefully later today or tomorrow, I'll share how to get this similar method using Enthusiast and Stitch Artist 1. So this was using Stitch Artist 3. I will see you guys later. If this video was helpful to you, please take the time to like it and share it, and click on the bell for notifications so that you'll be notified the next time I make a video. I will see you guys later. Bye.